everyone. Welcome back to Breaking Taboos with CUTV. My name is Muskan, the lifestyle director, and today we have two special guests who would be talking about men's mental health. It is taboo since forever. And in the last 5 years, we have been a little fortunate about talking about mental health, but men's mental health is still not covered. And we have Shresht Goyal, our first guest, who is the student of Cardiff University. He's studying law and he's in his third year. And he's so cool because he started a very fun run for February where he's running every day 5 kilometers to raise awareness about mental health, especially men's mental health. We also have Marco Ricky, a super talented person who's the founder of Talking Men's Mental Health and is a mental health advocate. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me in today. How are you all doing?
Good. Thank you very much.
I'm okay, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So I wanted to start by asking you guys, why and how did you start this? And, what is the vision, the motivation behind this? Shresh, you can go first.
Okay. Well, my campaign, basically, I've always struggled with mental health, not always, obviously. But I think I have had mental health problems for so long now. And I've been fortunate enough to have good people in my life who are understanding and who support me through stuff. But I just feel like it's still when I look around and when I'm talking to other people, it's they don't know what's going on. They're most of the times people think, oh, this person is just being moody, or this person is just a bad or rude person. It's, that's not it. They might be going through something. It's not a base, you know what I mean? But my campaign is basically just raising awareness about it, getting people to talk more, because most of the times, when people are like, oh yeah, we checked up. Checking up is not, hey, you all right? Yeah, you? That's not checking up on someone. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's just to encourage people to take it further, to actually make sure that your friends are doing okay. Because we personally, I focus more on university students as a student myself, and I know that most of us, if not all, are almost always stressed out because it's not easy being in university. So it's just, to make sure that people are happy and smiling and they just know that they've got someone to talk to.
Wonderful. Marco, could you tell us a little more about what is your motivation and why did you start Talking Mental Health?
Yeah, sure. So similar kind of story, really. I was affected by anxiety and depression when I was at university, funny enough. A long time ago now, it was about over a decade ago. But I remember at the time wanting to find kind of stories of people in a similar situation to me. And at the time, I found it very, very difficult. I created Talking Mental Health originally as effectively like a notice board. So it was for people to share their stories. They could do it anonymously. And hopefully the idea was that other people would stumble across this website and go, okay, it's not just me who's going through this. Make them realize that they're not alone, and then hopefully to, if they need to, seek help. Years passed where it was literally just that. It was a passion project. It was just a notice board website. Then the pandemic hit, and then all of a sudden mental health is all over the place. And I thought, actually, this notice board website, which people have been getting involved in, and it was having some sort of positive effect, could actually be bigger, and it could be better, and it could be more helpful to more people. So we started developing a news outlet. We started allowing people to share kind of articles, journalistic articles, explorations into topics of mental health, to try and make mental health an easier topic to talk about, right. Make it more approachable. But we've always got the same end goal of trying to make people realize that they're not alone and to seek help when it's needed.
Right. So, dating back to when, I want to understand when was the first time for you guys when you personally realized that you were not feeling okay? When did you pinpoint that feeling? And how was the realization? What were the factors around which led to that? And, were they helpful? Were they causing it, to deepen and to get worsen? So when was the first time you realized that, okay, I'm not feeling good? Anyone can go first. It's like
Should I like to go first, or should I?
I don't mind. I think like I said, like I was like 15 years old, so like most of it starts at school. I'd say like I think teenagers are, I don't want to say anything, but like, teenagers are difficult people. Let's put it that way. Like my thing started out of bullying, which was not obviously not okay. So, I thought that's just how it's supposed to be, and if I change myself, fitting their requirements or fitting the standards that they want me to be, that would be okay. But like even if you work on yourself a tiny bit, you just know internally that this is not who you are. So it's like if they start saying things that you want to hear, but like for me it was like they were saying, oh yeah, you look better now, like this is better, but I just knew within myself that it's not okay, like this is not who I am. So it was like I wanted to be myself, which caused a lot of bullying, and I was like, that's not okay, that's I'm not feeling okay. So yeah, that was the first time that I just I realized that that's not okay. And it just it happened so fast that I can't, like I can't pinpoint to a moment. It was like a catalyst. Um, and then I just knew that what I'm feeling is not something that's gonna, pass in a day or two. It's just it needs for me to take time out, um, and to work on myself and to make sure that I'm comfortable in who I am and to show it to people that I am who I am. And that's not going to change because you don't like me or whatever. And that's just, does that even answer the question? I feel like I've gone off topic,
no, it's
honestly.
nothing is off topic or like right or wrong. Just like it's very candid. So just please go on.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, I can't pinpoint a moment, but it's like, yeah, that's where it started. And yeah.
Right. Marco.
Yeah, so for me it was, I can't really pinpoint a single moment. I when I got my diagnosis of anxiety and depression, and I started going to CBT sessions, so cognitive behavioral therapy, there was a lot of discussions about kind of things that happened in my past. And it was those discussions that made me realize that actually this is something that I've been dealing with since I was very young. I should clarify the kind of overriding condition, as it were, was social anxiety, and I still deal with it to this day. So having those sessions with a professional made me start thinking about all of these memories I had from when I was young, those kind of memories that haunt you and they just don't go away and they kind of fill you with embarrassment. And I realized that actually I'd been dealing with symptoms of social anxiety for years, and I do mean like 7 or 8 was when I first started experiencing it. I remember the very first memory I have was my mum taking me to football practice and literally walking towards all of these other kids lined up for training, and I was so scared. I just didn't want to be there. And my mum walked me over to this crowd, turned around, walked back to the car, and she went to get back into the car, and I had already run behind her to the car, to the other side, and I opened the door, just jumped back in. I was so scared.
And there's like a stereotype formed around how a man should be and how a woman should be. So, talking about that I am not feeling okay, or just, being like, I want help, I want to seek help. How was that journey like for you? Because I'm sure it wasn't easy, considering you had to break that stereotype that men also do not feel okay. So how was that journey like, considering your friends, your family, people around you? How was that like for you? Shresth.
Right. I'm not gonna name names, but like obviously at the beginning, like when I started noticing things, people were not really open about it. They were like, you know what, it's gonna get okay, just go out, like hang out at the park, go play something or so, you know, it's gonna be all right. But like it was mostly just gathering courage to tell people that no, this is something that I'm going through. And if you can't understand that, then maybe you're part of the reason. And so I won't lie, it was quite difficult at first, but like over time it became like easier when people started to understand that okay, this is, you know, an actual medical condition that people go through.
Yeah, I suppose it was quite difficult for me to kind of face up to it originally, and that's kind of in part because of my upbringing. So I'm one of three brothers, and none of us were ever particularly open about our mental health with each other. So there was always that kind of like, I don't know, unspoken, you know, thing going on. Whenever we were affected by something, we wouldn't really share our mental health in that regard. And I think I carried that with me until I was at university. And you know, the things started to get very overwhelming for me, and I was getting to the point where I was tearing up a lot just for no apparent reason. And that's when I realized, actually, I definitely need to talk to someone. It was still a very strange process for me because, yes, there was that stigma, which I still think exists. I think men are getting better at talking about it. I think there's a bit more conversation than there was, but it still exists. That stigma of boys don't cry, effectively.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's ironically exactly what happened. So I went to my doctor and I was just in tears, and then I had my CBT and I figured out what was wrong.
Right. So, you know, as you mentioned that men don't cry, and, you know, all those stereotypes around it, that if I might be reiterating my point, but I just wanted to dig a little deeper here to understand that why, and like, you know, where can we date this back to? Like, why do you think mental health is something which is not being talked about? Because we come from very diverse cultures, and I have come to a realization that it's not just a one particular culture. So it's definitely not a very cultural thing, but it's something which is very ingrained. And why do you think that is? Or even if that is, how can we get out of this? Because there is another generation coming up and it might just get worse. So Marco, you can like.
Yeah, so I think where it comes from, the whole like boys don't cry stereotype, I think is, you know, it dates back years, generations. There was always that idea of the man being like the protector role, right, in a relationship, and well, not just relationship, as a species, the man was kind of like the protector, the fighter, you know, the one that's supposed to be strong at all times. And I think certainly in my lifetime, so I was born in the late 80s, in my lifetime, it feels like it is shifting.
Right.
I obviously can't say whether it started shifting before I was born or whatever, but it is shifting towards a more open discussion in my eyes. But I think, yeah, I think that stereotype of, you know, the traditional roles of a man has just carried on through generations. And I think there are a lot of people that still harbor those feelings. And they do see, you know, if I liken it to my depression and anxiety, they still see being scared and being upset as like weakness, effectively. And they don't think that you should show that. But I do think, like I said earlier, I do think more people are talking more about it. I think there's a lot of work to be done around having like a productive conversation about it. Because as much as there might be more people talking about it, are we necessarily have enough people listening who are talking about it? And are we having the right conversations once people start talking and opening up? That's the key part for me, I think.
Right. Oh, Shrestha.
Grown up with things that have told us time and again that, oh, you should be strong, you should, you know, you have that male ego, you cannot cry in front of anyone. And like, again, I don't want to name names, but like there's lots of TV shows that we enjoy and we fancy, but they're not quite open. There's like, there are certain TV shows wherein there have been characters who've just been very masculine and who are just very, you know what I mean? Like, we're not going to cry and we're not going to support our friend who's like wearing. Yeah, I feel like that's where our generation gets it from, the boys don't cry. And also, it's like there's so many graffitis around that still say the same. Like I was at a nightclub the other day and they literally, like, in big block letters on the walls was written "Boys Don't Cry." So I made it a point to put it on my story with like the caption "toxic" written under there. And I was like, that's not okay. Like, you need to change that stuff.
Right.
Like, everyone can cry and everyone should cry because crying is good. It's like not just good for your mental health, but it's good for your skin. People don't realize that.
That's true. So, as a child, how does like a father and even like a mother plays that role in normalizing mental health and normalizing crying, for instance, for any child? Because as a female, I know that when I used to cry as a child, it was something that, they used to give me sweets or they used to console me, but that was not the same thing for my brother. So, how do you think that parents, at a very early age, when the child is, understanding what the world is, what is the role that they play, and how can it be better, especially fathers? Because I think like sons look up to their fathers and be like, okay, I want to be like this man as a child. So, how do you think that impacts and that can be bettered? Marco, yeah.
Oh, what a question that is. See, I all I can really liken it to is my own scenario, but I didn't grow up with my father in my life much. So my mum was bringing me up, and ironically, thinking back to it now, she kind of did take on that role of like, I think because she had to be very, very strong to bring up 3 kids on her own, and perhaps because she was going through that, she kind of felt like she needed to put on this persona of stability and, support for us 3, to the point that she didn't really share a lot of her concerns about mental health. And I think us 3 kind of took that on as well. I think kind of thinking about that scenario potentially for other parents of young children, encouraging a conversation, really talking to children about how they're feeling. I know there's a lot of work happening now in schools and like primary schools, and they are talking about mental health and talking about anxiety and depression, these things that we experience every day. So I think that is a very big part of it, and I think the parents of those children need to kind of be in line with that, because they could be learning that at school, but if they go home and their parents aren't encouraging it, then you get that kind of dichotomy and confusion about the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So I just suppose encouraging conversation.
Right. Shrestha.
I have the worst memory ever. Like, I can literally give competition to Dory. So I don't remember much from my childhood. But what I do remember is like seeing kids that like grew up in front of me, so I could share that experience, honestly. I do feel like, because I have like nieces and nephews, so I feel like it's very different the way we deal with a girl crying and a guy, like a boy crying. For example, like I'd say like when a girl cries, it's more of, oh yeah, come here, like I'll put some medicine on it, or like if it's sort of like a wound or whatever, like if they've stubbed their toe or something. But when a guy cries, like when a boy cries, not guy, like it's more of like, oh, we'll hit the table back, like, and everything will be okay. The table hit you, we hit the table. Like, I have this, like, I don't know where it's just stored in the back of my head, this memory, like of this like clear incident that has happened, wherein like my nephew stubbed his toe and we hit the table back and he became happy. So it's obviously like very different how we handle the situations, and now that I think about it, that was probably not the best way to go with it. but yeah, I think like that's where it comes from when we're talking about parents. But like I don't think like personally I can speak for myself. Like my father and mother, like both have been like very understanding of my mental health. And when I tell them something that is bothering me, it's like I'm also very, and I'm sorry if you can hear some noise in the background, just my housemate. Um, it's like I just tell them that this is bothering me, and if you can't like deal with it, then maybe you're part of the problem again. Like I have taken that approach for a lot of things.
But like as you mentioned that when you hit back the table, how do you think that such small incidences, because I have seen that happening. So how do they shape like a child's mindset and just change the way he looks at the world? Because I have been coddled when I cried, or like when I was hurt, I was just given candies and all of that, whereas I have never seen the fact that the table was being hit back. So that has shaped me very differently, my approach at looking things and talking about how I feel. So how does that shape different approach, and how does it shape a child into an adult who cannot, who feels conscious or is a part of this taboo?
But now that I think about it, it's like I think it probably like promotes something that shouldn't be promoted. It's like when you get hurt, you hurt back, which is not good. So I'm gonna make a call after this Zoom ends to change that. But I think like that's obviously teaching boys that, oh, if you just revert back, you're gonna be fine, which is obviously not the best way to go with it. It's something that you have to work on and care for and look after yourself.
Right. So in the present times, how like things are changing, because especially during the pandemic, when conversations about mental health actually were started, to be taken seriously. How do you think right now we can change the situation for the younger generation, and even for our peers around who are suffering, and most of them will not actually speak up? Because I know a lot of men around me who feel embarrassed or who do not feel manly enough if they speak about, okay, I'm having a bad day, or I'm just not feeling good. So what do you think should be the steps right now to improve the current situation? Marco.
Okay. um, I think like I mentioned earlier, I think there's a lot more people talking about it, but we need to make sure that we're also listening to those people. So one thing I would say is encourage men to be talking about their mental health. In order to do that, though, we kind of need to increase understanding and awareness around symptoms and all these kind of things, but also how to communicate those feelings. So not a lot of people, I think a lot of people struggle to kind of manifest their thoughts and feelings into words and communicate that effectively, which kind of makes them not really want to share it. So I think having enough people, advocates, talking about their mental health and being the example of this is how you can talk about it, can help others open up. But when they do, we also need to make sure that all of the other people who are listening to them know how to communicate in that scenario. So there's no use someone kind of going, I've had a really bad day. I'm feeling really down, and the other person just being like, "Suck it up. I don't want to. I don't care." Because then that has the opposite effect. You need to have that empathy and the compassion on the other side that listens and communicates effectively. So I think there's a lot to. It's kind of like the two sides of the coin: is the awareness and then the kind of a communication aspect, I suppose.
Right. Shresh.
I don't think I have much to add to that, honestly. I think that covered most of it.
So do you think like as how can we help the children, and how can we help young boys? Because when boys especially are in their early teens, and I think both of you can vouch for that, they're not the best people to talk to, and like they are aggressive, which kind of comes from because they have been shown that if you feel hurt, aggression is the way to let it out. So how do you think that should be changed as a society? How should we work towards that? And even as individuals, how should we create an environment, a safe environment for those kids? Because they're very difficult to talk to.
Hmm. I personally think for kind of, yes, when you're a teenage boy, you kind of become a closed book, and then it's very hard to kind of communicate at that stage. Having those kind of examples in the media, like was mentioned earlier, with 12 Reasons Why, but you have a load of other TV series now being produced, which are talking about mental health struggles during that time in your life. What's the name of the show? Oh, Sex Education on Netflix. Although, yes, it's about that topic, it also talks about mental health in a lot of different ways. And it provides a good example to people of that age who are going to be that audience for that show, of how to talk about it and how to listen effectively. And I think providing those examples and providing those role models is a very, very key part to it.
Right. Shresht.
Yeah, I feel like that's quite important, just what Marco said, honestly. And yeah, when it comes to like teenage boys, like rather than when you, as parents, like when you see that your child is not okay, like the best thing to do is like tell them, can we sit down and talk about this as grown-ups? Or like, can we go to the doctor and get it diagnosed, rather than, oh, here's a bat, go. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the way to go with it. But I feel like you can't really control what's on the internet. Like if there's shows like 30 Reasons Why and Sex Education and Atypical that deal with issues such as depression, anxiety, and many more. There's also other TV series and video games that are mostly focused on destroying, and you can't keep your child away from that. You can't shut down that part of their lives, because as much as you'd like to, they are their own intellectual person, and they need to learn how to distinguish between what's good and what's bad, and what's going to positively affect them and what's not as much, probably.
I think that there should be any special support or any special element added to when men talk about their mental health, because they come out of a lot of courage, they come out of a lot of fear, and a lot of things are still impacting men when they actually decide to talk about it. So many things. So do you think there should be any special support or anything different or special provided to make them feel more comfortable than like a female opening up about her feelings?
Outlets now that men have, there are charities and organizations that focus on men's mental health, and there is support out there. And I think it's important for there to be men's mental health only kind of services, because men will feel more comfortable being in those scenarios and sharing their mental health with those services. So I think, I don't know. I don't know whether to say we need more of that, or whether, what we've got is doing a good job already. I know the thing is that with men's mental health, you tend to look at things like suicide rates. Like men, I think I saw a stat a couple of days ago where it was men's suicide rates are 3 times higher than women's suicide rates. And there are, that's quite a clear distinction that there is something particularly wrong. We're talking about men's mental health. But to say, I don't know whether we need more support or different support, because I think the organizations that exist now are doing a very, very good job.
Yeah.
I know Calm, for example, Campaign Against Living Miserably, have a very strong focus on men's mental health. I think they're doing amazing stuff. Potentially more services, the more the merrier, really. But that applies to mental health in general, I think. So that's what I think.
Shresh?
I feel like it's more about getting the word out rather than increasing the support, because like you can have billions of organizations, but it's like unless you encourage men to actually use them, it's not going to happen. And like you said, should we treat them differently? I don't think that you should. Like it's like there's two sides to the coin. Like you can treat them differently, you can treat them in a better way that they want to be treated, but then again there's always going to be this thing in the back of their head, oh, am I being treated differently because I said this? Are they, do you know what I mean, like are they treating me like this just because I said this, or did they actually want to be nice to me? It's like you need to find that right balance in between, wherein you make sure that the person is comfortable. And obviously there's going to be people who will retaliate, who will say, when a man comes out and speaks about his mental health, sorry, their pronoun, when they speak about their mental health, there are going to be people who are going to retaliate and who are going to be like, oh, what are you doing? No, suck it up. No, what the hell? Boys don't cry. um there are always going to be people. You can't stop that, it's just how it is. But as long as you're there to support them and tell them, no, this is good, what you're doing is nice, don't like, and it's going to show them, like, if you're just supportive of it, if you just encourage them to keep going forward and making sure that they're okay, I feel like that's the best thing that you can do. And yeah, just make sure that they stay away from toxicity and send them positivity and water.
Definitely. And I'll quickly wrap this up because it's time. But thank you so very much, both of you. I had a wonderful time talking about it. And to be honest, I've never had such a deep conversation about mental health with a man. I've never really, understood their perspective so deeply. So it was wonderful having both of you today here. And I wish you both best of luck. And Shresh, I will definitely see you running on the streets, and I can't wait to record you. And thank you so much, Marco, for taking some time out today and just being here. It means a lot. And thank you so much, both of you. Have a good day. And I'm going to stop recording now.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Thanks
no
for having
worries.
us.